water scheme meeting. I'm Councillor Hussain. Right, just Chair to advise that residents listening participate in this meeting that it will be recorded and will be available for future records by the council's YouTube site. And we'll go straight into waste management update. We've got John O'Shea with us and Leslie with us. So over to you, John.
Thank you, Councillor. I have a short presentation that I've gone through with other wards. It might be worth just presenting to your ward as well, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Just get this working. Hang on. Just right. Okay.
Yeah, we can see that.
Brilliant. Thank you. Just to take you through some of the things we'll be doing over the coming year to tackle fly tipping in your ward and indeed across the city. The first thing to talk about is just I'd like to explain the challenge of what we have to do as a service and the size of Birmingham as a council. We have to collect over 170 bin rounds every single working day. That's something of the order of 2.5 million collections a month. We clear roughly 1,000 tonnes of council-based waste every single day. Also, my portfolio are some 14 square miles of fantastic parks, got 2,000 miles of road to keep clean, and 450,000 homes that we have to collect bins from and also provide basic pest control services to. So it's a fairly large operation we've got here. It's the biggest council service in the entire country. Also, just a reminder of where we were 2 or 3 years ago, just after the strike. We had over 600 rows dropped at the end of an average week. And in the middle of this year, we had that reduced down to about 4 roads dropped, and typically because of things like problems getting access to those roads. Badly parked vehicles are a major problem for our wagons, while we are gradually re-equipping the fleet with what are called narrow track vehicles, which are narrower and more manoeuvrable. There are still too many roads, and Sparkbrook was one of those examples where a badly parked car, double parked car, can stop us getting down a road safely, and we can't complete the collections. The big warning from that is really that if we can't get our bin lorry down there, the fire service can't get their vehicles down there either. So, an appeal out there, please park your cars properly and safely, because it really does affect our ability to do our job. Also, to remind people, sometimes this isn't just about, sometimes the stuff isn't about the service failure on our part. It can be about a level of need. You've got examples there where we have waste that's been dumped on private land. Now, that's not our duty to clear it. That's a matter for the landowners to deal with. We've got trade waste there where the trader hasn't got a sufficient contract to handle the amount of waste. So it's not necessarily about us not doing our jobs. Sometimes people aren't playing the game and helping us do our work. And we have seen a massive increase in the amount of fly tipping collected. Those gone up by 18% since 2014, and we cleared over 17,000 tonnes of it in the last full year. So, but that isn't just a Birmingham problem, that's been a problem across the entire country. I also like to point out that fly tipping and litter are problems with poverty, and they disproportionately affect some of our poorest wards. And a large chunk of that is down to waste that is imported into those wards or dumped by unscrupulous landlords and traders within those wards. The maps here show fly tipping on the left-hand side, the green map with the yellow and red, and the red is that we have greater instance of fly tipping. The middle one is what we call detritus, so that's just general grime on the street, leaf mold and so on, and stones. And the right-hand side is littering on the streets. Again, if you overlay our maps showing deprivation, they match up really closely. Now, this is our most current fly tipping data. It's as of this week. The top one shows the number of incidents reported weekly through the city. And you can see there's been an upward track over the past 3 years, with a massive spike during the start of lockdown, at the start of last year. But it's continued to track upwards since then. We are seeing a bit of a downward trend at the moment, but that may just be the annual trend where it just drops off and get closer to Christmas. Don't quite know why it's so seasonal. The bottom graph shows actually every single ward in the city and the number of incidents reported. The red arrow points towards your ward, which, as you will see, unfortunately, is currently the worst ward in the city for fly tipping. And to put that into context, if you take the bottom 16 wards of Birmingham, that's roughly a quarter of Birmingham, you still don't get to the number of incidents reported in Sparkbrook and Balsall Heath East. So this is by far and away the worst affected wards of the city. The work we're going to be doing is focused very much on the top 6 wards that are really badly affected by this, and yours is a top priority for us. What we're launching is our new wall of shame, which we have shamelessly stolen from London Borough, Barking and Dagenham. If you want to have a look on YouTube, you can Google their stuff. I think a new one was launched yesterday or last week, which they put together 4 or 5 videos from their cameras of people fly tipping. As you can see, there's a reference number and an email address, and they ask people to report in if they know who the person is. And they get a lot of reports. They will generally get one £400 fine at every single video they do. Unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of people doing this are your neighbours and your friends, but we'll be starting this in a very, very near future. We've got the cameras arriving in the next month or so. I'm just about to sign off on the report that's gone through legal and gone through public consultation to allow us to do this. So those are going to start in the very near future. We are ready to go on this one. There will be 19 new cameras to be used across the city to pick up those who are polluting our city. And it's a really important point that I'll keep making throughout this presentation. What people do here is not a nuisance. It is a criminal offence. If you pollute our city, if you fly tip, we will try to prosecute you. If we get a conviction, you will get a criminal record. It is not a minor offence. We want people to stop doing this. We've launched our Love Your Streets programme, which we started before lockdown, and we put some more money into it for this year. And that is a cross-council programme involving people from our highways maintenance, our environmental health teams, parking, all sorts of people come out for a morning or afternoon in a particular area, and we'll hit a hotspot. This was from Washwood Heath, where we took over 3.5 tons, actually nearly 4 tons of time we finished in a morning from Allen Rock Road, and we had a good conversation with residents and with the traders just to explain what we're doing and how they can help us keep their neighbourhood clean and tidy. We restarted again this year, and we'll put some more money into that with new people coming on board. They're still being recruited right now, so that isn't quite up and running as much as it should be. But very successful over in North Edgbaston, where we had support out from all the council departments, plus housing, and also the housing associations. And we even got community volunteers out there to help clean up and do some work. Really successful operation that day. Of course, what we're doing is also about involving the community. We've got lots of volunteers out there who spend their time or got their time to help keep their neighbourhoods tidy. So we're going to give them the tools, literally the tools they need to do that job. So we can provide from bags and litter pickers up to what we call the street boss trolley, which is on the right-hand side there. That's about a quarter to a third the size of the trolleys that our own street cleaners use, but it carries quite easily a couple of bags and holders, a whole range of tools. And that one was literally out on the streets of Birmingham within about 3 hours of us handing it out. It was being used to help keep the city tidy. So we're there to try and help people do more they want to help get neighbourhoods tidy. We aren't a council that's as big as we were 10 years ago. We haven't got the people and the resources because of a decade of austerity to deliver the services we want to do, and certainly the ones you need. So we're asking people to help as well. But that's been a big success, and we'll carry on doing that and providing the training and support people need to do the job safely and effectively. We're launching our new enforcement officers. Firstly, we've put our waste enforcement team back up 23 officers, so they'll be able to do more duty of care checks on businesses and come out and do more work in tracking down the most serious offenders when it comes to fly tipping. But we're also launching a brand new programme of 6 officers dedicated to our key wards. Now, they are just finishing their training now, making sure they come out and talk to the councillors here and get out. And their job is to be out on the streets of Sparkbrook Balsall Heath East, talking to residents, talking to businesses, and just engaging people, trying to educate them to do a bit more to keep their areas clean and tidy. And behind them sit our enforcement team, the heavy mob, who can turn up, and we can issue fines. We can take legal action against people to force them to tidy up their areas. So these officers will be coming out on the streets of your ward in the very, very near future. We've increased the number of people we've got out there to try and tackle graffiti. So we've got 3 new teams out there. That's doubling our existing resource and working on a new graffiti and street art policy. We've got 4 teams out now to tackle fly tipping, and again they're tasked to deal with fly tipping. They're not part of the ward teams that you see out cleaning the streets. They are there to pick up the bulky stuff that appears on our streets from time to time. We've also launched 3 deep clean teams, and again they'll be working across the city, but predominantly in those areas where we know we have a particular problem because of the reports we get from councillors and from residents. That's a team of six people with a cage tipper, a large sweeper and a small sweeper, and an additional refuse compactor vehicle out to come and do particular issues. One thing I know is a problem in your ward and across the city again is problem with flats above shops and roads that have black bags only. We got something of the order of 15,000 properties originally were marked down as not being able to cope with wheelie bins. I think that's down to something around 12,000 now, and we're going to review that again. There are roads. I know Councillor Hussain raised Gough Road with us, and we're going to issue wheelie bins to Gough Road. But we've also got flats above shops, and things like the Warwick Road, Stratford Road are particularly problematic because 40, 50 years ago, if you owned a shop along there, you'd live above it. And then during the 70s and 80s, people moved out of those flats into houses elsewhere, and the flats above the shops became storage areas. And probably in the past 10 to 15 years, they've come back into use as flats, but not connected to the shop at all. They're different people living above their different tenants. Often, frankly, people who are there on quite short-term stays. And it's really hard to engage them in how to dispose of your waste safely. And they've also got nowhere to store their waste. These properties weren't designed with spaces for bins, and I can understand why the residents may not know when the bin day is, and also may not have space to store a bin bag across a week till the bin day turns around. So what we've done is we've got new bag crews out there who should be visiting these key areas. So it's actually we're doing 3 collections a week on this part of the service, just to try and get those bin bags cleared and reduce those piles of rubbish. We've launched our new mobile HRCs. Essentially, it's bringing the household tip to a street near you, and those are typically 2 or 3 vehicles, depending on the need. But there will always be a recycling vehicle, which you can see in the front of that bottom right-hand picture, and that's divided into multiple compartments to take things like fabric, plastics, metal, paper, whatever you bring in that nature. There's also a compactor vehicle behind it, which will take anything that's just ordinary bulky waste. And we've added another vehicle which will turn up on demand if there's anything that can be reused or any larger white goods, we'll take it away for our new reuse centre at Tyseley. Again, they're going to work across the entire city, so every ward will get a visit, but our main focus will be on the wards where we have the biggest problem with fly tipping. Also working on some behavioural change stuff that we want to change how people think and treat their city. So we're working with Keep Britain Tidy, have a great record in doing this work, and we'll be seeing some of that over the next few weeks and months. Some of it is about, you see the bottom picture there, grime scene tape, where we'll turn up and we will tape off fly tipping like that to remind people that this is an offence. And then we'll leave that for a few days and then come back to it. Excuse me, just turn my phone off. And we'll come back to it and clear it away. And other things we can do, that they use pavement stencils, so we can clear rubbish away from the streets. And we'll put some temporary paint down there, which will say things like, clearing this cost 60 quid that could have been spent on your local library or your local leisure centre. Because everything we do here has a cost to it. And there's probably some £11 million a year that arguably we don't need to spend as a city. If us as residents of the city looked after it better, we wouldn't have to spend so much money keeping it clean and tidy. I also want to reach out to the various community groups that are out there, the mosques, the churches, and working with Centrala, who support the Eastern European community, to help get some information out to people about how to look after the city and how to recycle. One of the things we found at Washwood Heath a couple of years ago was that the number of people who are perhaps new to the country don't understand how our waste systems work in this country. And some of them, you either have to have individual contracts to get rid of your rubbish, and I think that's how it works over here, or that they don't understand that our 4 working HRCs are free to access. So again, it's education to do that. People need to understand how things work and want to be able to engage properly with the services we do offer. So that's something on the books as well. Communication is really important to us. This is about our launch day, where we got, frankly, some of the best coverage we've had as a council in a good few years. But we've got to keep that communication work going over the coming months to remind people of what work we're doing and the effect it's having on our city, because it is having an impact. Finally, talk briefly about enforcement, because people don't think we do enough of this. We do more than many, to the point where Solihull are now a bit concerned that we will start driving fly tippers across the border to Solihull, because we do a lot more enforcement than they do. In fact, they do nothing. We do a lot more work. We work closely with our colleagues at West Midlands Police. If we flag up a vehicle involved in fly tipping, they will stop it, and we can then seize it, and we can go to court and hopefully get that vehicle taken off the owner. Sadly, most of them get crushed after that, because typically, if you're a professional fly tipper, not only do you not care about the environment, that's why you're fly tipping on it, you don't care about the vehicle you've got, and they are usually, frankly, not safe to be kept on the roads, and something we can return back to normal use. We have had a couple where we have seized them and been allowed to keep them, and we put them back into our own fleet, but most of them do get crushed. As an example, we had one chap dumped 11 tonnes on a garden in Handsworth. He went down for 5 months. It still cost £7,000 clear, money we don't get back. But we took a large lorry off him, which was unroadworthy, untaxed, uninsured, and running on false plates. And it was a death trap on the road. And again, to show you the people who are doing this stuff, this was a guy who was paid to get rid of rubbish and did it illegally. He went to jail for 5 months. By the time we got to the point of the conviction, he was already in jail for armed robbery. You know, these are not your lightweight Del Boy style people. Some of these people are really unpleasant, nasty criminals involved with organised crime. There is a lot of money getting rid of waste legally, and people do it. Get some more cases. Chap dumped 7 tonnes of trade waste in Ward End. He's gone down for 13 months, and we got 2 vans off him. A double glazing firm decided to dump rubbish outside the allotments on Walsall Road, just by the Commonwealth Games site. £1.5 grand in fines and costs. Chaffin Solihull decided to drive across the border and dump this lot in Bilsey Park. That cost him £6 grand. This chap could have popped the local HRC, but decided not to, put it in some private bins instead. That's £1,500, please. And because the police keep an eye on these things, no insurance on your car, 6 points for driving that insurance as well. Local business decided rather than get a proper trade waste contract, because you're legally required to have a way of disposing of your rubbish, they thought they'd just dump 40 bags of rubbish, actually quite close to their home. We caught them, £1,500 in fines and costs. And this wouldn't have been their first offence. People do this quite regularly because they can get away with it. And they're getting an unfair advantage over legitimate businesses who are paying their way properly. Quite recent one is up in Burbage Road. Chap was only convicted in August. He took 1,000 phone books, BT phone books, to deliver for a private company. Decided rather than deliver them, he dumped them in a hedge. We have a friendly business up there that's given us a number of pieces of footage like this. So this gentleman had to pay a large fine, lost his job, and the firm that employed him had to pay compensation to BT for not delivering the phone books. What are more recent ones? This gentleman decided to drive to Baker Street in Small Heath. Drove to it twice and decided to dump his rubbish there from Rednall. And he drove past 2 open HRCs to get there. That's a £1,200 fine, £700 cost. We've got a great video of him doing that. And just to summarise, for the first 6 months of this year, we got 14 people convicted for fly tipping. And this is over a period we haven't had that many cases going through because of COVID lockdown. It takes about a year to get a case from start to finish. So 14 in the first half of this year. And we've got over £13,500 fines and a 13-month jail term. And we've fined over 300 people for littering, with £64,000 fines coming into the council. And there is more in the pipeline. Once we get the cameras up, there'll be more still. So we are doing what we can to prosecute where we get the evidence, where it is good enough. We will go to court and we'll get convictions, because we're not going to stand for it, because you shouldn't have to. That's me. Is there anything people want to ask? So Les is here who want any operational matters about the local service, but we're here to answer questions.
You're on mute, Councillor Hussain.
Sorry, I do apologise. I should have said, those who want to say, I've got a question, raise your hand. There's a function where you can put your hand up and then I'll ask you one by one. So I've got John first, John Newsom. And welcome, John. You signed in a bit late.
Right, I'm unmuted. Okay.
Yes, you are.
I mean, I think, you know, there is a huge spectrum here between, as we've heard, organised crime, and maybe lots of people do drive to this ward to dump things. Maybe they are criminals in some cases. But at the other extreme, we've got people who genuinely do not understand what they are supposed to do with different kinds of items. And they can't go to the HRC because they haven't got a car, and you're not allowed in as a pedestrian or a cyclist. So, you know, many people live in flats who continually complain that they haven't got bins and would like to have bins and would like to put out recycling, but they cannot for various reasons. Now, I was told when I had some bulky waste, put it outside and we will collect it within 3 weeks. So I was actually told to put bulky waste items like mattresses and things in the street. Then other people come and add to the collection. So there could be a mixture of things which are kind of there legitimately, and other things which are, you know, have been dumped and are truly fly tipping. Many people put things outside saying, anyone want this? And they go. So actually that's quite sensible, because that's reuse, that other people pick it up and use it. So it's a long way from the kind of criminal, you know, activity that we've been told about. And I do think that people need to be properly informed about what they are supposed to do. And it's true that many people arrive from another city or even another country, and they genuinely do not know what they are supposed to do with different kinds of items. So I hope that I think it should be led by the communications. In other words, telling us, I'm very happy to have a leaflet through my door explaining what I'm supposed to do with different kinds of waste.
John, do you want to take that, or do you want to take some?
I'll take that one because that's quite wide ranging. Yes, I mean you're exactly right, John. This is not just about enforcement; it's about education and engagement with the people of Birmingham. You're exactly right. There is a spectrum from very, very hardened criminals involved with this down to somebody who's put stuff on the street. There isn't. I don't actually accept there is an excuse for putting stuff on the street. I think I can understand why people do, but there isn't an excuse for it because there are legitimate ways of disposing of waste, and it is, to borrow a phrase from our colleagues at Keep It and Tidy, your waste, your responsibility. We offer a collection service for bulky items. There are a private set of firms that will do it. If you buy a new fridge, or even if you have a fridge you want to dispose of, people like AO and Curry will take away 20 quid and dispose of it safely. So I don't really, I can't accept there's an excuse for doing it, but I do understand why some people do it. But I'm not saying we want to go in hard and enforce on everybody, because there is a need to educate people. Leaflets are a part of it, but only a part. That's why I want to engage perhaps more through the community groups, whether that's through the mosque or the church, or through the various other community groups out there, to try and talk to people directly. But it's a long-term project. It's not something we're going to fix overnight. It's a long-term project, but we're certainly up for that.
Just also to touch upon, we've also got like British Red Cross who take away relatively good furniture. I think we've got quite a few community hubs who do take furniture, who can upcycle and reuse or pass them down to people who are desperately in need for furniture. There are some relatively good furniture that is being dumped out onto the streets. So we do try encouraging people, if you've got a decent good stuff that you're upgrading, to donate it in, and some of them actually collect it for free as well, some charities. So that's something that
yes,
we can promote.
Absolutely. I think City Mission do it, collect free of charge, and they're really good. They've got a big warehouse down in Borsley Circus, and they then resell it to people in need, but at absolute bargain prices to sustain themselves as a functioning operation. So yeah, there's a lot about reuse. We just opened up our new reuse facility at Tyseley, which is designed to encourage that reuse. Help on going with Coalfield for a number of years. So the higher up the scale we can get, reduce, reuse, recycle, that's where we need to get to. And the more we can get back into circulation and proper use, the better.
John Newton, is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
That's fine. I've got Imran Hussain. No, we can't really hear you. No.
You hear me? You hear me?
Yeah, just a little bit.
No.
Yeah. All right, we can't really hear you. We'll go to the next one. Councillor Azim.
Oh, I'm waiting.
Thank you very much, John. Yes, you welcome in the Sparkbrook. Are you listening me now? Yeah.
I'm always listening to you, Deputy Lord Mayor, always.
All right, thank you very much. Actually, I am very pleased to see you in here. You know the issues and problem. I think you already work very hard in the Sparkbrook East. And I think there are most of the people, they use our Sparkbrook. They come from the other wards and they dumped rubbish in these places. I have noticed 2-3 times, but unfortunately there was no any proper system at that time with me. Otherwise I can inform you. And I think myself, like, that all the shops, they have got flats on the top, right? And when they come out, they don't know where to put the bags in there. Where they go, just put it in there. I just want, if there are 4, 5, 6 batch of the shops and flats upstairs, and if we select one place, one spot for them, I think that will be very useful. And there is one issue is going in very seriously on the Rushburn Road. I think you know this one. Maybe every week they send the message for that one. And them, the Rushburn Road, and that's them people are not using that spot, but the people from the, I think, Ladypool shop or flats on there, they come over and dump in there. And I think these are the things like, issues. There should to be some kind of solution on that one. We can suggest something, and I think you are going to cooperate with us, as you are doing very well for this one. I'm very grateful to you, and that's in the moment I can say only these things. Thank you very much for this one.
No, thank you, Councillor. Les, anything you could bring to bear on that particular issue?
Yes, Councillor, yes. We're more than happy to look at issues like that. As Councillor Hussain suggested, we've got SAC crews that are going out on a daily basis now, and where we got flats above shops, they are looking at some of these hotspots. So, as the Councillor Hussain said, it might be the Stratford Road, Coventry Road, Ladypool Road, but if we get some little issues like this where there's 2 or 3 shops on a corner maybe, or a shop and there's flat above, or a couple of flats above, that crew will also tune in on that, and they'll collect them. We will drop a leaflet once we see, and we'll say, put your waste here. We're going to come on Tuesday and Thursday, for example, so they don't have to store it with no storage. So we will at least have 2 days of the week, if not 3, where we can come and take the waste. We will also look, though, at the same time, if there is a place where we could put wheel bins or a bin for them to use, we're going to on our rotas. So anything that councillors that you see within your wards or anyone brings to you like that, please drop me a note. I don't have an issue looking at them, but we can put some regime in place to make sure if they come out at the right time, they're collected in a timely fashion, and the streets are kept clean that way.
Oh, thank you very much for this one.
Thank you. Also, I was just going to touch from what Les has just said. We've had some issues on Ladypool Road, and what we've done is the flats above shops that are registered. While back, remember, John, you were giving them out stripy sacks just to identify the colours. I think we've started giving them the stripy sacks out. So we've started doing that. So we've done someone on Stratford Road. Ladypool Road. We need to tackle the same thing on Ladypool Road. So Les, I will be sending you an email. And we can do a quick visit on that. Okay, I've got name Gracie. Oh, Q. I'm assuming it's name Gracie. You're on mute.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh yeah, just a question. One thing that's been recognised on our road is the use or the abuse of refuse bins used for obstructing parking. In regards to like enforcements, what can be done to prevent this?
That one I'm going to pass across to our colleagues from highways. Putting obstruction on the highway, whatever it is obstruction. And if you talk to the highways team, they can issue a letter to offending properties asking not to do that, and further action can be taken. It's not down to the waste team to do that because it's the highways issue.
So just one more question, a follow-up. One of the major problems we have is that we have a lot of A3 premises around Sparkbrook, and that generates a lot of waste. And there's a lot of fast food waste that's actually on the pavements, the streets, the roads. What kind of measures are put in place to actually reduce that?
That'll be down to our normal street cleansing teams. Oh, Les has popped up.
I didn't want to plug up the airways with my face. Obviously, Ladypool Road, Stratford Road, places like that have a regular street clean. I think Ladypool Road, as an example, is 7 days a week, or at least 6 days a week. We do know there's a big nighttime economy down that way, obviously with the fast food and the Baltic Triangle, as we call it. We are looking at different ways as well now that we can enhance our cleaning, because obviously we work 9 to 5, I say in loosely, but the nighttime economy starts at 10 p.m. till just before we start. So we're trying to look at ways and means to capture that waste. We will speak to enforcement if it's Dixie Chicken, to use a company that their waste is seen all outside, and the waste enforcement or prevention team will go in and ask kindly the vendors there to take control of their waste that's been generated on the street. But if you have any issues like that, please let us know, because we want to take action. As councillors quite clearly highlighted and demonstrated this evening, we don't put it down as a service, but we're there to pick it up. But the easier our job is, and the cleaner the streets are, it is for everyone. We do welcome people telling us, because we're not there all the time, obviously. And the other question, I'll call you Q, sorry, because that was the your sign and when you come on. If people are using the road to block the road to save their parking space with the bins, we will take them back to our colleagues in highways, because it is an obstruction that they're not allowed to do. There's one other bit I wanted just to come back on what Councillor Hussain was saying, and I did see it pop up in the chat. We're really keen to get local groups, local residents to come and get involved with us. We want to do some all-out days. We want to really get people to see that we're there with you. We want to work with you. We want to change some of the culture there, I say it. We can give you bags, we can give you litter pickers, and that cart that was showed in one of the slides that Councillor Hussain demonstrated. Make contact with your councillor as a group. If you're on WhatsApp groups with the councillors or whatever, they will come to us and we'll be organising that, and obviously to get some equipment and aids for you. And on a day when we do go out, if it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, we will make sure any waste is collected in the bags that we supply to you, that we'll also pick up in a timely fashion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Les. Isra?
Hi. So I just wanted to ask, in terms of, I live near Larches Park Green, and one of the issues is there's no bins on the actual green. So a lot of people that sit near the benches just throw the rubbish behind them or wherever, like around the benches, and it generates a lot of like rubbish. And there was previously a bin there, but it was removed. How do we go about putting that bin back in, or putting more bins around the green, so then we can make the case to the people that are dumping that there are bins around there, so put it in the bin?
If I could answer that one as well, Councillor. Obviously, Parks is now one of our sister parts of the service. I'll take that one back, Israel, and have a chat with the colleagues in Parks to come and assess where the benches are, and see if litter bins would be of a benefit there, and if so, get them sited and obviously get them emptied on a regular basis. Was that Lynch's Green Park, was it?
Larches Green Park.
Larches
So
Green Park.
it's the
Okay.
green opposite the park.
Yeah, leave that with me. I'll have a chat with our guys in Parks to see what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Isra. Does anybody have any more questions for John? I've got a small list, just a small list. I don't see any hands up. Okay, I've just got a couple of questions. I know we're getting 19 new cameras. When will they be in Sparkbrook? Well, obviously we don't want to know where, because that's the whole reason why we're having cameras. When will they be in Sparkbrook? The YouTube channel, is that up and running? leafing project. I've already started getting residents complaining that the drains and the gutters had already been blocked because of the drains, because of the leaves. So are we going to sort of just focus on, I know we had a budget, are we just going to focus in around the parks area where all the, obviously, most majority of the leaves are going to be? And two more questions. If residents want to do a deep clean street, like I've always wanted to do on my road, but there's always cars in the way, can we have some sort of, I don't know, can we send out letters and ask residents to move their car from the space of like 9 till 10? I don't know, give an hour or two so we can get the cars moved out so we can do a proper clean. I don't know, I'm struggling to get the cars out of the way. And the final questions, I know you talked about fines and prosecutions. How much has the council benefited from these fines? I know we're not really making much money out of it. Thank you, John.
Right. Just try and pick that stuff up. We have about 19 cameras. They should start being deployed over the next few weeks. They're not being deployed covertly. The whole point about this, actually, it's rather hard for us to deploy cameras covertly. But we have to go to court and get a judge to agree that you can do that. It's not as easy as it used to be. So they will be over cameras. There will be a deterrence value over the camera there. We'll be locating them based upon the data that we hold about particular hotspots. And I have no doubt some of them will be in Sparkbrook on quite a regular basis, because you've seen the data on the number of issues that we have in your ward. So this is absolutely a priority ward for us. No, the channel to show them isn't up and running yet because we haven't got the show on it yet. We have a lot of stuff ready to go. We need to get the site and the pictures together to put it out there. You asked about leafing crews. Let's want to come in on that. Shall I go and pick up get the answer on the fines?
Yes, 2 points there you raised, Councillor. Leafing crews, obviously the changing weather has started the leaves to fall, so we are now ramping up to get the crews out. We do triage leaf fall. Lots of the wards in the city are really established, and they've got the old oak trees and some of the hardwood trees. They generally hold on to the leaves a bit longer. The chestnut trees, the broadleaf type of tree, they usually drop first. Managers are quite clued up, quite astute to where they need to triage to get to the worst places first. If you do have an issue, Councillor, drop us a note, but we do have it in hand generally. If I could also pick up on park cars and cleaning your street, Councillor, or anybody's street for that instance. This is where we want to do lots and lots of joined up work, as I discussed earlier, and as the Councillor Hussain suggested. Part of city operations now, which we've moved part of, there's a degree of highways with us. What we want to try and do is encourage people like yourself, Councillor, or anyone else to come forward and say, we want to have a deep clean in our streets. What we can do is use our Love Your Streets team. They will come out, they'll drop some leaflets, so you don't need to. We would ask you to use your social media contacts, obviously, because you get to lots of people that way as well. We'll come out, we'll ask people to move the cars, we'll come with large sweepers, we'll come out with a deep cleaning crew, and we'll absolutely blitz the road clean. That's the idea, and we'll get everyone in the street involved as well to come and do their bit. We're looking at the moment, and it looks like it should work. We'll also at that point get the drain cleaner out as well. Once the cars are moved, it's the best time to do everything. So we'll come along to the street, we'll give it a right good deep clean, a good sweep up, empty the drains, and then leave it in a condition that residents feel it's nice to live in, with the hope of people start to say, we've got it clear, let's all do our bit as well to keep it clean. And we will come back again and again, not week on week, obviously, but if we could come to a road once a year and do that, we would significantly clean up some of the inner city streets of Birmingham that are perpetually parked up with cars. Hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you. That's really good to know. So don't worry, I will be in touch. Just the fines and the
sorry, you asked about fines as well. Yeah. Just got the data for you on that. So first half of this year, we got about £13,500 in fines, all of which goes to the Treasury. We don't get to see a penny of that because those are our fines imposed by the courts. So we don't get a penny out of that. We got back just shy of £15,000 in costs. And should say, if someone gets jailed, we don't get costs. So there is that. We just pick up the cost of the prosecution. We requested something of the order of £38,000 in costs. So we didn't even get back half of our prosecution costs from those convicted in court. On littering, again, we did better on the costs. We get about £3/4 of our costs back on littering offences. We got £40,000 after £54,000 requested, and there were £64,000 worth of fines imposed. We get to keep any fixed purchase notices that are paid, but any court-imposed fines goes to the Treasury, not to us.
Could I add to that as well, Councillor?
Yep,
that it's obviously we're not doing this and fining to make money. We're doing this and fining to change the culture, to educate people that dumping, littering is not good. It's not okay to do it. Yes, there might be a few pounds made to try and pay for the people that do the job, but the whole objective of all the covert or overt stuff we do with cameras, etc., is to change the culture of people, not necessarily in the ward coming and dumping, it's people coming across borders, the prolific dumpers. We want to send a strong message out that it's not okay to dump in our wards, and we will take action. So it's not there to make money, unfortunately. But if we can change people's culture, what we pay to actually do it is money well spent, and I'm sure everyone agrees with that.
Yes. So this warden that we're going to be getting will be she joining very soon. Will they be able to issue fixed penalty notices?
Not sure, top of my head. I'm not sure if we're giving them the power to do that because we have our enforcement officers who can do that. There are, especially with our legal team, issues about giving officers the power to do that and then giving them the discretion not to. It gets a bit difficult. So it's far easier to have somebody who's out there able to advise and educate and try and push you to do the right thing. But behind them, there is a team of people who will come out and do the heavy stuff. And they will prosecute, and we will take you people to court, and we will get convictions. We don't want to do that. As Les said, we don't want that to happen. I would much rather we didn't have to do any of that stuff. There is no, there is no money in it for us. We don't make money out of that at all. Anything we do get goes back into the service, but it is frankly pennies in terms of what we have to spend to do the job. We would much rather people were not doing this, and if we can educate them and work through yourselves to the community, get people to understand not to fly tip, not to litter. That would be a big change. There's a comment on the chat about litter bins. I have to remind people, of course, that every litter bin we have out there, there's a cost of putting it there, there's a cost of maintaining it, there's a cost of emptying it, and we just don't have the money to put as many bins as we would like out there. It's also interesting, there are a number of places, a number of parks across the country where they actually remove litter bins, and they want you to take your rubbish home with you. And I went to one myself over the summer. I was quite surprised. There's a big sign saying, no litter bins in the park. There weren't any. There was also no litter. Really quite an eye opener that people just weren't dumping litter there. Again, the message is, if there isn't a litter bin there, it's not an excuse to drop your rubbish on the floor. There will be a litter bin around the corner, or you take it home with you.
Thank you. John Newton.
Can I ask about abandoned vehicles, which are the largest kind of fly-tipped item? They block the roads, they block the footways. Does this initiative include abandoned vehicles? Because as we've heard, often, the street sweeper can't get round, the rubbish collection vehicle can't get round. There are some vehicles with flat tyres that have been there for a very long time.
Yeah, I think part of what we're looking to do and part of the Love Your Streets initiative is when we come out and do the All Out days, and let's say we come down Ladypool Road, I'll use as an example, we do invite the police, the fire brigade, local councillors, anyone else that's relevant that can make a difference, might be enforcement, engagement, anyone that can. Now that might only pick up that road on that day, but if any car that's been dumped, abandoned, etc., will or not taxed, may well get clamped and the person will be spoken to. Cars that are being dumped continually and left, obviously we don't go out and check them. I'm not sure Sergeant Sharma does, but if we're aware of them, we can take steps to get them removed. So again, if you see a car that's been dumped or left in the corner of your street or on your road, and it's been there for a given length of time, please let us know. If we can't do it, we'll take it to the person that can.
Yeah, if I can just jump in there, I'd just like to echo what you just said there, Leslie. Any vehicles that come to our notice in relation to them apparently being dumped, obviously there can be a range of reasons for that. They could be used in crime, they could be stolen, or they could be just abandoned. The registered keeper may be committing offences, or indeed whoever's driving it may not have registered it to themselves. So all those things have an avenue, and some of them fall within our remit as the police, and obviously we'll remove them and deal with them accordingly, and some will refer on to your good selves. And I think just off the top of my head, in the last month and a half, about 15 or 17 such vehicles, I think we've had some reason to get them removed, various different reasons, and obviously referred from the council as well. But if anyone's got any abandoned vehicles that don't appear to have had any attention from the police or the council, please refer it to both of us, and we'll do something about it. You can get us on the web chat emails by the West Midlands Police, or email the local neighbourhood officers.
Thank you, John and Leslie. I don't see any more hands for you two, so thank you very much.
Thanks for the invite, councillors, and we'll look forward to meet you in early December, hopefully face to face.
Oh yes, thank you very much.
Thank you all, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very
Take
grateful
care.
to you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
John. Oh, John's left. No, the other John. John Newson's just left. Right, okay, we're going to go up to, well, we're going to have an update from our sergeant. Many of you probably have not met him. He's taken over from Sergeant Rigby. We did have Chris Gallen for a little while, but now we've got Sergeant with us now, and you can actually see him in person. Well, not in person, but yes, we can actually see him now. So an update what Chris used to do before, you stats and what you guys have been doing since COVID.
Okay, hello everyone. It's my first council meeting, so please forgive me, bear with me. I'm not sure what used to happen before, but I've just been told it was stats. I am new to neighbourhood policing. I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. I've come over from the west of the West Midlands, the Walsall, Sandwell and Wolverhampton side, where I worked in CID for a number of years. I've got 27 years experience. And I'm been put over here, I think it was the end of April, beginning of May, midst of lockdown, as Sergeant Rigby retired, obviously left an urgent vacancy that needed filling. Lots of complex needs here in terms of the demands from the police, and hopefully I can use my experience to try to make some inroads to that. And as the councillor mentioned earlier, Sergeant Gallen was covering for a few months. He actually, his main responsibilities is an impact team. So we've done, I think the data goes back for some 10 years, and the Stratford Road has been identified as a high crime, high police service demand location. And because of that, they could justify having another layer of policing attention, and that's the impact team policed by Sergeant Gallen, and he predominantly patrols the Stratford Road and tries to look at things that are causing the police concern, and tries to do things to alleviate those concerns and prevent, don't make it so urgent so people have to ring 999. We're trying to reduce the demand in those areas. And I cover, my area is, I'm actually based in Edward Road, and I cover the end of Calthorpe Park right across to, just looking at the map, excuse me, Golden Hillock, and down to Ladypool Road past Anderson Park. So it's quite a large area that I cover, and obviously the top end of Stratford Road up on Bordsley side as well. So my team seems to fluctuate. Only last week I had 15, and today I've got 6. And I believe in 2 weeks' time I might have probably more than 15. And generally we try to be as precise as possible in relation to the calls for police service and the concerns from residents. So if I can identify series and patterns, for example, if residents have got concern about near a particular park, we're aware of local drug activity around there, and maybe there's been a report of assaults around there as well. Obviously that would highlight me as a hotspot kind of area, and we'll try and focus our limited resources to try to maximise the effects and be present in those locations where we can overlap and try to hit all those agendas sort of at the same time. I have done a quick scan of some of the year-to-date data. Obviously, data, I would put it into perspective. We've had a major lockdown, unprecedented globally. Our main performance indicators would be burglaries and robberies, offences against people and things like that. And I've seen a decrease in burglaries. Now, that could be because people are at home during lockdown, and that could be the natural trend towards that. And likewise, robberies, there looks like a 12% reduction since this time 2019 to 2020. And that could, again, be due to lockdown and not many people out and most people at home. But we have had some spikes as well in domestic incidents, incidents that have had a hate aspect linked to them, and knife offences. So those are the kind of things that I predominantly would focus on in relation to neighbourhoods, trying to protect our communities and keep them from harm. I'll be looking for patterns and series in relation to those and seeing what I can do to tackle and reduce those instances, as usually locations or individuals. Kind of things that I've come across in the last few months. Obviously, this is a new area to me. I've noticed it's very densely populated and it's got its own inherent long-term issues. But I've noticed that a lot of people are unhappy in relation to the parking and the begging as well, which is quite unique to this side of to Birmingham. I think generally Birmingham city centre and the far reaches. I think there was something in the city centre where they've imposed some orders, and that's displaced quite a lot of that begging activity to the surrounding areas, and obviously Sparkbrook has been affected by that as well. But we have got things in place, but they are going to be a mid to long term solution. Begging is an offence, but if I was to arrest a beggar and take them to court, the courts would say, well, what have we done to refer this person? What have we done to support this person? And if we haven't really got a response for that, then they'll say, well, how can I prosecute this person if this person needs help? So what we're doing, we're trying to build a profile of the people that are committing those offences. Obviously engaging with them, encouraging them to move on. But then from that encounter, we're trying to get as much information as we can, see if we can offer referral mechanisms. We've got outreach workers, we've got various other agencies and charities, and try to at least document the kind of support that we have offered them whilst we're moving them on and displacing them. So if we do end up saying, right, that's enough, we're going to go down the prosecution route because that's the last resort, at least then we're going to get a more satisfactory conclusion at court, and they're not just going to be released for some kind of referral or support rather than sentencing. So that's in relation to the beggings. What's come up recently as well is e-scooters have started to become an issue. We've got some leafleting in relation to e-scooters, and we were doing some road reduction policing only 2 weeks ago on the Stratford Road, where we seized a couple of e-scooters. But not many people seem to know that obviously you treat them as a motor vehicle and you need the relevant insurance if you're going to ride them on a public place or a road. Obviously, the pilot scheme in relation to those orange ones, that's specific to those orange ones. But a lot of people seem to just see other people riding around on their own personal private e-scooters and think that it's okay because they can see people doing it, so they do it as well. So we're trying to nip that in the bud as much as possible. You have to understand we're trying to, at the same time, we've got to try and do it safely. To try to stop an e-scooter in the midst of the Sparkbrook traffic safely is not an easy task. So we have to try to be a bit creative about it. But we are trying our best. And if you think of any, if you can think of any ideas, or if you think of any hotspots, please let us know, and we'll factor it into our projects. I mean, there's quite a lot of stuff going on. I'm still getting to grips with the area, but let me just say, is there anything that anybody wants to ask me? Maybe my answers can be a bit more specific.
Anybody got any questions for Sergeant? Ooh, they're being nice to you. Okay, maybe not. I've got one quick question. I know e-scooters, the private ones are relatively illegal. Whether we can have a chat with Wasim, who's trials out the trial e-scooters, the orange ones, around the city centre. Whether we can come up with, I don't know, a leaflet or some sort of key information, which ones are legal and which ones are illegal, and which ones you're supposed to be riding in buses and bike lanes only. So I don't know whether we can. I don't know if you've got. I know you're trying to promote it. How are you actually educating people? Do we have a leaflet, or should we share?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see.
Share a leaflet.
I don't know if you can see this. So we have got a leaflet in relation to e-scooters, and it is quite detailed in relation to what people can and they can't do, and the offences they will commit if they've got e-scooters and they're riding them on the public road. Essentially, they can only ride them on private land unless it's part of that specific national pilot scheme, of which I know Birmingham is taking part, and that is evolving as well. I understand. So yeah, if you have got any ideas in relation to how we can collaborate and maybe do some kind of a YouTube short clip or something, and we can spread that around perhaps, and I can get some of our traffic leads in relation to e-scooters and do a bit of a question answer a few minutes. We should be able to spread that. The intention is to spread it around the colleges initially, because a lot of the ones I've noticed do seem to be quite young, and that trend may have that kind of snowball effect. So if we can address it with the colleges first and do something there, then we'll see how that impacts on the street.
Thank you. Any more questions, or any questions for Sergeant? Councillor Hussain?
Well, oh, sorry, a question. Yes, sorry.
Hello, are you hearing me? Hello?
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
okay. Actually, as you said that when, the beggars on there, and if you are taking somebody to the court and they just say, oh, let it go. Actually, the problem is that is very dangerous when they are, they are standing on the traffic lights as you go on there in the, that's by the Stratford Road and Walford Road. They just keep walking. And I think that is very dangerous thing, is that if any accident happens, who's going to be responsible for that? That's the main reason for this one.
You're absolutely right, sir.
Yeah,
and I would urge people,
there should be some kind of solution of that. And some, that I have just good experience about this, because I'm looking all the time in there in the traffic lights. And some people are saying, oh, they should not pay the money, this thing and that. And some people are very kind, especially the children. And some, they just does it. But it should to be some kind of precaution on that, because if any accident happens, and who is going to blame for that? This is the main reason, and I'm just asking for this one. There should be some kind of, precaution on that. It's very important, please.
You're absolutely right. So I'm not saying that we allow it to happen. We do not allow it to happen. We stop it from happening. But what I am saying is, before we decide we're going to arrest somebody, we try to make sure any prosecution is going to be successful in court. Now, that may take time. We do find a lot of the people we're encountering do have complex needs. And although they may have referral mechanisms in place with various different agencies, that they still continue to obviously do that thing, causing that upset to the community. And aggressive begging, obviously, in the highway specifically, is a danger to them and others as well. So we don't allow it to happen. So I would encourage people to tell us of where it's happening and descriptions of people, and we can try and build that pattern and picture. I mean, hopefully somebody would have seen officers move people on, because certainly my team, we've got a list of areas that we know are hotspots in our area, and we ensure that they're patrolled regularly. We know the various different shops that where the patrons may be more generous than others, and we know that the beggars may tend to frequent those areas more than others, and we encourage those stores as well. We've got signs, and we put those signs up as well to try to educate the customers as well. And we do get calls from the security guards to say, oh, this is happening, that's happening, and then we go out and we deal. So hopefully people have seen some kind of effect in relation to beggars not being as frequent as perhaps they were a few months ago. But please do report it to us via email or 101, and then that eventually will come to me and we'll collate the data.
Thank you very much.
Sergeant, I don't see any more questions for you, so thank you very much.
So I just wanted to say, obviously, the police now, it's the traditional neighbourhood mechanism that people used to have, but we try to digitalise it now. If people look it up on the West Midlands Police website, West Midlands Police now sign up, then you will get that kind of information text in relation to your street, your postcode area. For example, if something were to occur and we appeal for witnesses or we ask questions of the community to assist us, then you'll be part of that mechanism, and then you can get that information and feed it into the system. So please have a look at that. I encourage you to do that on the West Midlands Police website.
Thank you, Sergeant. I was just going to say, majority of us have already signed up to is it West Midlands now, or the updates? I think we had Lorraine when we had our face-to-face meetings, and we did get majority of us to all sign up. So if you haven't signed up, please, I urge you to do sign up. Thank you. That takes us over to our final agenda, our final item, local updates. So I just want to give you a couple of updates that some of the local community groups have been in touch. Who want to promote some of their services, and I can't remember where I wrote them down. There's quite a few groups that are up and running. One of them is a community litter picker group, which is Bahu Trust. They've just recently started, and they do it the first Saturday of every month. So if you've got a few or half an hour free, I would suggest you go down and help out with them. They've got all the equipment and everything that they need, so they just need some more people or more volunteers to just take pride and take ownership. And another update was, I'll read that one out in a minute. Was about, oh, I didn't write it down, sorry. The other one is about Ashiani Community Project. They've got this new project, which is Bump and Beyond, with that support for care. So if you're pregnant and children, if you've got children under the age of 2 or age of 5, so they've got some more. There's lots of support available. Not just they've got some health and fitness programs going on. So if you're local, if you've got time, or just ring Ashiani Community Project up and see what sort of services they're doing. Just a quick one update on the Commonwealth Games. I know some of you attended the Commonwealth Games. We've still got some funding available. Also, get in touch with some community groups if you've got an idea or suggestion.
Sorry, Councillor, I've lost you. I don't know if anyone else can still hear you.
Councillor, can't hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
You're just coming back and your picture's a bit vague, so I think you're just out of signal.
All right, okay. What I'll do is I'll send Kate the update about the sprint route, and I just want some suggestions and some locations where we want these high quality sheltered bus stops and where we want them in our area. So I'll ask Kate to circulate that with everybody. Yeah, so I will just, there's a 20, we're looking about 100 bus shelters to be across the cities, and they've asked where we want them in our ward. So if anybody's got any suggestions or ideas where they'd like them, let me know. And that's about it. So does anybody else would like to add anything? Oh, just before I go, our next water tasking meeting is going to be just before Christmas, and we're going to be discussing parking and how we can make it a bit more user friendly for pedestrians, and some suggestions how we can resolve or eliminate our parking issues. Is anybody else like to add or say anything? Nope, I don't see any hands up. Right, so thank you very much, everybody, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.